First, the compulsory event. The compulsory event consists of 4 heats: an acro heat, a pyramid heat, a toss heat, and a tumbling heat. These skills for the compulsory event represent the basic skills of the sport of acrobatics and tumbling. In this event, each team will execute the same skills for direct comparison. Each heat begins with a starting value of 10, and the officials will be looking for execution, body positions, and stability of structures.
Alrighty, well, we made it. We are back here on the ETBU Plus Network, and this is the start of the compulsory event. Buffalo State College, the road team, technically, will start first. And so far here, they have a score of an 8.0 in the acro event as they look to take on your squad, the UMHB, the crew of UMHB.
Yes, sir, as Buffalo State coming in as the 5 seed, UMHB as the 1 seed. Opening up here is a lot of excitement from Buffalo State in the compulsory acro. Once again, across everybody, across the nation. Boy, and a nice job, a good arabesque from the Buffalo State. I apologize. I'm trying to watch and talk all at the same time, which you'd think would be a requirement for my job.
I was going to say, you would think we'd be good at it by now. We're 3 meets and matches in, but
the compulsory are elements that every team is going to do throughout the entire nation, throughout all divisions. It'll look a little bit different because with the start value of 8.0 for the acro and the tumbling for Buffalo State, there's a couple of elements that they're not going to do that you'll see UMHB does do, and so you'll get a chance to see what the full compulsory is going to look like from the Crusaders. But UMHB really coming in as the heavy favorites. The number 1 seed, this is technically a semifinal as UMHB gets a bye into the semifinals. They pull the 5 seed Buffalo State along with them, and this really becomes about UMHB trying to improve their standing for the overall. Again, let me back out of that real quick. As in sports, anything can happen. If things go well for UMHB, what they're trying to do is they're trying to reach up into those 260, 262, 263 numbers, so that way maybe they can start improving their overall rank, which is currently 13 for the overall national championships that happens between D1, D2, and D3.
Well, with the start value of 10.0 in each of these events, acro, pyramid, toss, and tumbling, they're definitely on their way to doing that for sure here. As Buffalo State College just finished their opening acro event.
And did a great job, by the way.
Solid job for sure.
I think, I kind of got caught up in trying to talk about too many different things at once. But
right.
Buffalo State did a really good job. And as UMHB going to try to answer that now, acro being one of the stronger things that the crew have done for the past several seasons. I think it's one of the things they've really built their run on. As the Thompson, Jenna Hall and Casey Hedrick have been the acro tops all season long. So once again, you're going to see the same elements that Buffalo State did as the walk-in into the heel pinch with the back tuck out. A lot of height on the back tuck from the crew.
For sure.
As UMHB have some very strong bases and now going to move into this straddle element. And Annie Battistella on the right. Boy, really great with the straddle into the extension. They're going to drop into the unsupported.
Good hold there by the bases. Like you said, you weren't kidding. Good, strong bases. That's number 10 for the crew, Kylie Jones. And over on the other side, kind of missed the number there for a second, but
as that was Emily Kithill.
Kithill.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, this is your team, so you know, so you can call them out for me for sure.
I'll do my best for you, yes, sir. And a good job from the Crusaders as the crew with the acro elements. It's one of the things they've kind of built their name on and have ridden the acro into the last couple of overall championship tournaments, dropping 2 events to the University of Oregon. I got to tell you, those are sentences I never thought I would say being a broadcaster for UMHB, saying that they lost narrowly to the University of Oregon Ducks.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that tells you the amount of talent on this team. And kind of with that in mind, just wanted to kind of, pick your brain a little bit on the crew here. So what are a couple of the athletes here that for our audience and for our, fans that are just getting into the sport, who are the ones that we need to really have our eyes peeled for here today?
Yeah, I think anytime that you see number 20, Natalie Podsednik, and number 9, Jenna Hall on the floor together, something special is about to happen. You're going to see that in the 7-element acro and in the open pyramid, which is 2 of their better elements. They've got a 10.0 in each of those this year. And when they come onto the floor, that's going to be really impressive for them. They've had to do some reshuffling in their tumbling. Their 2 main tumblers have actually had injuries. The reigning freshman of the year was one of the top tumblers and a championship tumbler from last year, is currently sitting in a giant knee brace. Had to have knee surgery part of the way through the year. Abby Coyle is another that had to have knee surgery at the beginning of the year. And so they've had to do some reshuffling. But with Buffalo State going to come out for the pyramid with a 10.0 start value.
10.0 start value once again. So
they're going to have 2 full pyramids. So they're not going to get dinged on not having enough pyramids. As looks like your tops are going to be number 7, Lucy Ingro, and number 15, Jacqueline Hardin. As Hardin a senior and Ingro a senior as well. So pretty well-rounded group here for the Bengals. As they're going to go into this thigh stand straddle. And a good-looking straddle, really balanced. Just a little bit off on the synchro. But outside of that, I thought it was a couple of really good pyramids.
That was very solid. I mean, and great work once again by the middle bases. I mean, it takes a lot of strength and effort to be able to execute that. So Buffalo State, the Bengals, they have to be very, very pleased with how they've started things off here. And so, that was a good, strong, solid start.
Yeah, a really solid start. Is the Bengals come in averaging just under 200 points, 199. Their high this season is 211, which actually came against these Crusaders. It was a tri-meet with Canisius and UMHB. As the Bengals later in the season, again, we're seeing this with all of these teams. They're really developing, turning it on late in the season. And I think that's really good for the Bengals as they are continuing to develop their program. That here in the semifinals of the national championships, come out and put on a really good performance. Give them maybe the best one you've got. Throw up a new high score for the season, for your program, whatever it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, I mean, Buffalo State, again, they're coming in as a 5th seed. This is a team that is continuing to develop as well. Again, in the matchup against UMHB, 211 points. So this is a team that can put points on the board. Start values for them very close. But it looks like on the other side, just kind of looking at it, UMHB is going to kind of play the role of, putting pressure on a lot of teams early. Absolutely. With some high start values.
Yeah, they really do. Is going to go into this thigh stand straddle. Your middle bases are Claire Willis, an excellent freshman, actually. She's been named Freshman of the Week several times with the NCATA. And then Kylie Jones, kind of a staple. Jones actually rolled her ankle in practice the other day.
Oh, wow.
And so, kind of taking a look at her, I think they're trying to keep her as stable as possible. So that way she's not having to put too much pressure on the ankles.
Yeah, they're doing
a really nice job as coming across and very solid for the Crusaders. And, hey, a little bit of a shout-out, actually.
Good job.
As that's going to be McKaylin Fry, the junior, now in the straddle pyramid. She has not been in there, and I don't know if she was in that pyramid against ETBU in their last meet, but was not in there previously. So she's one of those athletes that's been continuously developing. As I think it's easy for me to see with UMHB the development over the course of the season. And
right,
you take an athlete like McKaylin and realize that someone who wasn't in mostly anything to begin now is front and center as we get started in compulsory.
Absolutely. And so now we look at the crew here who has just finished their heat here in the pyramid, and we await Buffalo State College as they're going to compete in the toss again. For them, a 10.0 start value as they prepare to enter the mat here, and we'll close things out with the tumbling following. So, again, as we look at the overall here, we're 2 matches down. This is our 3rd and final one of the day. Your thoughts overall with how teams have competed? Of course, the Tigers competing with Trine University in our last matchup. A tough go for them as they were able to keep pace but came up short here. Your overall thoughts so far on the teams that have competed here today?
Well, I've got one word for you that I want to throw out, but I want to watch the toss because I want to explain the word.
Okay.
I think it applies very well. In the toss, so a 10.0 start value for Buffalo State. We're going to see how far they go here with this as 4 bases, 2 tops. That's going to be 15 and 7 in Hayden and Ingro as a really nice back tuck.
That's a nice back tuck and a nice landing.
Yeah, a really nice landing, and you can see the excitement from the coaching staff. You can see the excitement from the ladies, and it's really what you want to see when you come into these matches. Are you going to come in with confidence? Are you going to come in with enthusiasm? I think we're seeing that. Here's the word I'm going to give you for I think what we've seen all day long today.
Okay,
toughness.
Yeah.
There is a. Let me say that there is a false narrative that, like cheerleaders aren't very tough. I'm going to tell you this much. One, these aren't cheerleaders, but I think the crossover people see that. Man, we have seen ladies that have been fighting through injuries. We've seen ladies that are limping to the mat and then doing all kinds of elements on the mat. We've seen unusual situations with long breaks due to injuries. We've seen both teams have to respond after long breaks. I've been really impressed watching an entire day of collegiate athletes really showing the best that they have. And some of them have come up short because that's unfortunately the way that sport works. But I think we've seen some really good performances so far.
Absolutely. And the word I was going to say as well was kind of along the lines of that, either resilience or grit for sure, because that's something that you don't expect when you first hear about, witnessing an acro and tumbling meet. It's just going to be a couple flips here and there, but there's been a lot of things that these ladies have had to respond to throughout the course of the matches here today, and we've seen them respond very, very well.
Absolutely is. So the Crusaders are going to come onto the floor, and okay, again, I'm trying to be as neutral as possible here, but do me a favor. We've talked about height all day.
Yeah.
I want you to keep an eye on the height of these 2 ladies.
Okay.
As Hedrick on the right, Hall on the left. We've talked about the strength of the bases of UMHB. UMHB this is the area they've improved the most in this year is their tosses. So they're going to go once again here with this back tuck, straight up hollow position.
Great height on that one.
And then way in the air. As it was kind of humorous at the beginning of the season, one of the highlight videos that I cut up and put online, Casey Hedrick went all the way out of the frame. They didn't have it zoomed out enough. And so Hedrick goes all the way out of the frame and then comes dropping back in. But a good synchronization, and I think we've talked about it several times today, and it's funny. I'm not used to doing so many in one day. I don't know how many people are watching multiple events, so I'm trying not to repeat myself too much, but I know I need to repeat myself some in the fact that the higher you throw, one, there is a great, beautiful aspect to it, and there's a points aspect to it. It also makes it more difficult because you have to throw 2 athletes that are not the same size, and they have to go up and come down at the same rate. And that takes a ton of work on the part of these ladies.
A lot of work for sure. A lot of work, and that's something that, again, if you're new to the sport, that you're not really considering, not really thinking about for sure how much work and how much preparation and how much athleticism kind of goes into that for sure. And so, again, really good height on the toss. The landing was terrific as well. And so not a lot of margin for error there, not a lot of movement on the catch from the Cruise side. So here's Buffalo State, the Bengals coming back out here as they will be competing in the toss event,
the tumbling
event as well.
So 5 ladies.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. 5 ladies on the floor. So some are going to do all of the elements, and some are going to do only part of them as I was watching them warm up. So that was the toe touch, but they just go with the vertical bounce into the back handspring. So they're going to remove the back tuck in that. So they just go with the back handspring. So you're seeing why their start value was a little bit lower. And now the round off back handspring, back layout, I think they turn it into a tuck. as they turn it into a tuck, and a nice job actually catching up into synchronization.
Yeah.
It was off to begin with, but at the end really kind of finished all at the same time.
Yeah, great synchronization for sure. A little bit of stumble at the end a little bit on the finish, but overall, I mean, it was very, very solid.
Yep.
Not anything too noticeable from Buffalo State's side.
Absolutely, really, maybe a good strategy. The most noticeable thing was the scrunchie falling out of the athlete's hair in the middle of the tuck.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, if you look at some of the hairstyles these ladies have, they have got it down to a science how to not let it go flying all over the place. There's actually one of the athletes on the Crusaders, number 39, Lauren Truman. She's got crew in braids in the side of her hair.
Wow.
It says CRU in braids. I asked her how long it took. They said it took 3 hours. She was up till 2 a.m. the other night.
Oh, jeez.
And but they do. The lots of ribbons and lots of very tight braids. As I tell you what, just getting ready for a meet from that perspective. You know, the only thing I've ever had to deal with is maybe my beard gets in the way every now and then.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, for us guys, we just roll out of the bed, maybe take a shower, maybe not, and throw on a shirt and say, let's get out there and compete.
That's right. And it's always interesting too whenever, you know, and again, like kind of talking about that acro and tumbling as a sport. You know, sometimes people who maybe are not as aware get lost in, you know, the hairstyles and the fun and the enjoyment of it, and miss the fact that the hairstyles are part of who they are, and the athleticism is through the roof.
It is through the roof for sure. And again, something that you don't really consider here when you're thinking about acro and tumbling for sure. But it's a lot that really kind of goes into it. But I want to go back to the hair thing. So crew on her braids on the side of her braids.
Right on the side. I don't even know how you do that.
That's always something that you know, I'll leave that to the women to kind of understand.
Hey man,
there's no way I'll sit there for 3 hours.
Hey, you know what? For we've all done crazier things for championship events. So I'll say this, and again, no shade to anybody. I think the crew braids is probably better than bleach blonding your hair for playoffs.
Yeah,
so.
I think so too. I would go with that as well, as the crew has entered the mat here for the tumbling event. Let's see how they respond from the Bengals.
So the crew, a full contingent, and they'll go through the full compulsory. So they're going to start with the standing back tuck. Boy, really nice. Not
Beautiful
a lot of false
landing.
steps that we saw at all. Into the toe touch and then back tuck.
Beautiful landing.
Very solid again. Back handspring, back tuck. Really nice. Just a little bit off on synchronization on the left side, but done well in terms of the skill itself. And then here comes the back layout, so watch all the feet at the same time. And
Beautiful.
a nice job is, again, just a little bit off on synchronization, but especially when you look at UMHB and the difference in body type. For example, one of the ones who landed last was Annie Battistella. Annie Battistella is about 5'9". And then Jenna Hall, who's on the floor. Jenna Hall is a solid 5'2". And so really looking at the body types and the body differences, it really becomes even more impressive the way that they synchronize things up.
Absolutely. And again, it's that height and the size difference makes a difference when you're tumbling like that, going through the air, trying to do all these backhand springs and back tucks and things like that. So very impressive for sure. But we're going to take a quick breather here, 30 seconds. Coming up is going to be the acro event, 3 heats of that from each side, and we'll have your totals all totaled up as well. So stay tuned here. The EB Network will right back to go.
Skin is the acro event. Marks the beginning of the optional portion of the meet. Each team will compete with skills previously chosen with different possible start values. There will be between 2 and 4 athletes in a group on the floor in each of the 3 heats. Heat 1 has 5 elements, Heat 2 has 6 elements, and Heat 3 has 7 elements. The start value is determined by the difficulty and combination of each skill. In addition, each position must be held for 3 seconds. This event demonstrates power, strength, and balance.
We're your neighborhood go-to for easy, fast, and friendly car care. Tires, brakes, oil, and free services like flat repair, alignment check, and brake inspection.
So no upselling, overpricing, or fake repairs.
Nope.
And I get all that free stuff.
Yep. So you don't really need all this.
Big brand tire and service. Big on fast. Big on friendly.
And we are back here on the ETBU Plus Network. The scores are in for the compulsory. 6.875 in the Acro event for the Bengals. For the Crew, 9.35 in the Pyramid, 9.325 for the Bengals. Very tight one, 9.55 for the Crew. The toss was a 9.10 from the Bengals. The Crew at 9.875 in the tumbling event, 2.0 for the Bengals. The Crew with a 7.325. So a decisive advantage so far as we get the totals in. 27.30 from the Bengals, and for the Crew, 36.10. So just about pretty much a 9-point advantage right now for the Crew. And looking at it here as we're about to head into our Acro event Heat 1 for the Bengals, it's a very interesting turn of events here throughout the day. But so far, UMHB pretty consistent with what they've done for much of the year. High start values, not much of a problem for them as they nearly get 10s to start things out.
Yeah, a really good start for the Crusaders. I think they were a little bit disappointed in the tumbling. I think they got counted off a little bit more than maybe they thought they were going to. You can kind of see it on their faces. But here in the 5 element for the Bengals, a nice back layout, a little bit of an extra step, then they go into a straddle, and then the inverted element here in the 5 element, as that's going to be Lucy Ingro as your top. Really good hollow position. You see those toes just a little bit out in front of the shoulders, but a good quality position. And the Bengals really building on some momentum. I tell you what, their toss and their pyramid were fantastic.
Yeah.
And now to have that in their 5 element, the Bengals are really riding a high right now that I think is going to make this exciting as we go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, a lot of hype and a lot of excitement there on their end of the court. We'll see how the Crew responds so far here. But looking at how these two teams have competed thus far, I mean, it's very early for sure. But there's still a little bit of pressure, I would say, to have to respond to a team rather than being the team that's kind of, setting the tone and setting the table, which is something I talked to the coaches about, how difficult that can be to have to, you watch a team compete and then you have to respond right after. And so, how difficult kind of is that from that kind of perspective on the sideline?
Yeah, and I think it adds another interesting element, too, in the fact that, when you come in as the 1 seed versus the 5 seed, the 5 seed really, you don't feel like you have a lot to lose. So you're just going to go out there and have a good time. You're going to play loose. And UMHB has to continue to execute the way that they are used to each season, but wondering how that's going to continue to play out. So here with the 5 element, Jenna Hall is going to be your top, and your base is going to be, we got Claire Couples. Jenna Crafts is also on the floor. They're going to switch over in just a minute. As Couples and Crafts, a couple of transfers in this year, have been really good for the Crew. A nice half round. And then going to move into the push press, and a really nice push press with Couples, a junior. They're going to drop into this 360 descent and a really nice landing.
Great landing.
As straight into the vertical, and a really great job for the Crusaders.
Great job on the mount there. As a good
and again,
finish.
A little insider information. When you see Jenna Hall get a smile that big, you know it's gone really good. She's a very low-key personality on the floor.
Okay.
When she turns around and you see those teeth, you know it was a good event.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll see how it all kind of pans out here. As that was heat number 1 of the Acro event. Heat 2 coming up here. And for Buffalo State College involved in that one will be, as we kind of look at the overall lineups here for heat number 2, that's going to be the six-element synchronization here is going to be Lucy Ingro, Mariah Allen, Emma Ball, Guinevere Brickman, Jacqueline Hayden, Brianna Rohrer, Julia Herpora, Carice Salmon. So that's going to be very interesting here as we get set to go. And again, it's been a long tournament, long competitions here. And so it's a lot of mental gymnastics that's kind of involved here for both teams, for every team really. But it's always kind of been, at least in my opinion, coming from a track and field background, I love being a sprinter because your race is over quickly, but at the same time, it took a lot of mental fortitude to have to wait, because sprinting is normally kind of in the middle, kind of at the end, where you're waiting around kind of all day, and that's kind of been the case for these two teams. You
Absolutely.
know, kind of waiting around, looking at the competition, and now you're able to sit there and compete here. So there's a lot involved.
It really is. Really is now the sixth element is the synchro acro. So we're going to get the rear mount is going to go straight up onto the shoulders. They're going to get, they're going to go straight into extension and then into the straddle and the inversion element. Each of the acro elements has an inversion piece to it. They're going to drop off and go unsupported. So we're going to take a look at the bases here. Really nice job on the bases.
Nice hold on the base. I was going to say, a lot of strength there.
Very high quality.
Here's the mountain. Let's see if they're able to kind of stick this one here.
So go into the toe pinch, and then looks like we're going to go a back layout. What a really nice back layout.
Great landing.
Boy, and for a start value of an 8.95, I think they're gonna get as much out of that one as they can. That was a really high quality pass.
Absolutely. I was very impressed with the bases. That was a really good hold. Very, very little movement there. And that's what, if I'm a judge, that's what I'm looking for out of a good base. So they should get high marks on that one, is what I'm assuming.
I think you're going to have to is really a nice job from the Bengals. And I got to tell you, at some point, I start to ask myself, where are they going to start dropping points? I mean, we talked about it, is they're kind of going blow for blow with UMHB right now, and they've had a couple of 9s in the compulsory. They're going to get a couple of really high marks here. It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe it's going to be the tumbling where they lose some. We've already seen them struggle a little bit in the tumbling really turning out to be a very high-quality 5 seed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, hey, it's tournament time. So, like you said, anything can happen. If anybody is, any of you guys everybody's familiar with March Madness. So, I mean, you already know how those games kind of turned out. So, kind of the same thing here. It's going to be a matter of who is able to overcome kind of the fatigue factor, the mental factor, the physical factor, obviously, but the crew is going to take the mat here. We'll see how they respond.
So UMHB, Annie Battistella, the freshman, on the right, Jenna Hall, the senior, on the left, as they're going to go straight into this half round on the mount.
Good balance on
push
the
press and a nice job with the synchro push press. They're going to move on to this individual one foot, and then back down with a 360 descent. A little bit of a lean for Jenna Hall on the left. Pretty straight up and down for Battistella.
I was going to say a lot of focus on the right. Good hold there. They came out a little bit quickly.
Yeah, so Kid Hill had to step a little bit back. Here's one of the interesting things about the Crusaders and that particular movement. Battistella is taller than your typical top at 5'9", but not just 5'9". She's got very long arms, but not a terribly long torso. And so really what happens is when you have someone, she is very, very good, like a bright future for UMHB. But also they have had to rotate and try to find a good match for her in that movement because she has such long arms, and some of the bases don't necessarily have that long arms.
Yeah.
And you can really, when you have a mismatch in arms, you can really get off center very easily. You saw Kit Hill having to battle it. Batistella eventually comes down, which, let's face it, coming down early is better than just losing it all together.
Yeah.
So going to get some deductions from that, but up until that point, I think a really good move from the crew. 9.8 start value. And so we're going to see how are the Bengals going to respond? They have responded each and every time as the Bengals are going to come back out with a 9.05 start value. And quite frankly, it sounds really odd to say. I mean, UMHB is in good spirits, but boy, feels like all the momentum on the Bengals side.
I was going to say it's kind of, it's definitely something that is going to be a factor going forward, I feel like. I mean, most teams here today have done a pretty good job keeping the spirits high as they're trying to keep spirits high over on this side here as we go into heat number 3. Like I said, a 9.0 start value. And so we'll see if they're able to kind of pick the energy up a little bit. Again, that's something that plays into the mental aspect of things, is how well your energy can go here throughout the course of a meet.
Absolutely is. Gardner is your initial base. Your top is Olivia Persons. So Persons with her arms crossed, they're going to go into a push press. And a really nice push press. See a little bit of wobble. She's going to get some help, but a good job as they go into a single foot. She's got a big old smile on her face as well.
Yeah.
As the drop down, I believe that's 3 elements down. They've got 4 to go. Gardner is going to continue, and Gardner, a strong athlete. They're going to go into a straddle, another really good straddle into
really
the inversion.
Good, strong base.
And battling it here, doing a good job, not moving too much. You see the hip shifting back and forth, but a good job retaining that positioning.
And so, I think they got off to a very strong start. Little bit of a wobble at the end, but I think they were able to recover well enough to not have too much damage done as far as taking points off or things like that. So, really good job there by the Bengals, and we'll see if the crew is able to respond here. But so far, strong showing from the Bengals. And good movement, or should I say, good lack of movement from the bases for the most part.
That's absolutely right. So UMHB is going to come out with a 10.0 start value, and this is one of the elements that they've got a 10.0 on the year with a score of a perfect 10. They've made a change though. Is this typically has been Jenna Hall being the top with Natalie Podsednik as the base. They've switched it up as Casey Hedrick is now going to be the top. So going to be a little bit of a change as Hedrick. It's going to be an impressive one because they're going to go into a half round that goes into full extension. So typically what we've seen is a mount into a toe pinch and then maybe a half round. What we're going to do is they're going to go straight from the ground. Podsednik is your base, is going to go straight overhead with Hedrick. And to see the strength and the stability that's going to take is a really impressive movement. But I'm interested to see how it's going to go with Hedrick this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hall and Podsednik have been best friends and have been working together for 4 years now, and so we're going to get this change with Hedrick. Hedrick, though, is an up-and-coming sophomore for the Crusaders, one of those athletes that they're really going to be leaning on.
Absolutely, and so out there on the mat right now, as you said, is going to be as number 22, Hedrick, as she's
into
going to
full
be
extension.
Full extension there for sure. Good, strong base there by Podsednik. She gets a little help there from Jones.
Oh, boy, and a nice job from Podsednik. Podsednik's a really strong athlete and basically just prevents Hedrick from falling over. As into the heel pinch, they're going to go a half round. And then she's going to turn.
A little bit of a lean towards the right side. Our right, her left. Into the inversion there.
And a really good vertical position as the Crusaders finish off. So Pretty good there. We saw, like you said, a little bit of a lean at times, and then
Yeah.
on the descent especially, saw a little bit of a lean. But with a 10.0 start value, again, it's that game that you play that there's certain things you're willing to give up, especially with a 360 descent from a full extended position. That's a long way to
That's
come
a
down.
long way to come down, especially when you're spinning in the through the air, for sure. So the judges are going to be tallying up the scores. We'll be back here on the ETB Plus Network. In the meantime, we are going to have just a quick look at the event that is coming up next here, and that's going to be our pyramid. And we'll be here.
The event is the pyramid. The pyramid will be the final event in the first half. In the pyramid event, athletes will build 3 layers in a structure. The start value of each heat is determined by the difficulty and the combination of the entry, structure, and dismount. The pyramid event has 3 different heats with different requirements for each heat. Heat 1 must be an inversion, Heat 2 must be synchronized, and Heat 3 is an open heat. 2 key things the officials will be looking out for are the position of the top and the stability of the structure.
And we are back here on the ETBU Plus Network. Here is the score from the Acro event. And it's going to be 8.35 for the Bengals, 9.55 from the crew, almost a full 10. 8.325 on the 6th element from the Bengals, the crew with an 8.925 with a 9.8 start value. 8.1 from the Bengals on the 7th element, and the crew a 9.125. So they maintain a pretty sizable advantage here. 24.8 total on the scores for the Bengals. 27.6, so a little bit closer than we thought here. 52.10 from the Bengals for total scores. 63.70, so UMHB starting to kind of pull away a little bit here, kind of start to distance themselves as we head into the pyramid event.
And with the inversion pyramid, we saw a really quality pyramid out of Buffalo State in the compulsory. It's one of the things that the compulsory does is it gives you at least a little glimpse at what the rest of the meet's going to look like. And so going to see how this takes shape for Buffalo State, as they're going to start off with a 9.5 and 3 9.5s in a row. So a thigh stand, and we're going to get the mount from behind. So we're going to combine the acro into the pyramid as they get set up in an acro, and they're going to go straight into the inversion.
I was getting ready to say, it's interesting formation there. So that's going to be
really nice
landing.
with the
good recovery, yeah.
That's right. They just catch her as she comes down. It was designed for her to come down on her feet, and they did a great job with it. As you saw when she pressed off, you see the bases. They kind of give with those hips a little bit as she goes up. It's a lot of pressure that's coming down on you when somebody is jumping on top of, not you, but on top of someone above them who's on top of you.
Absolutely, yeah. Long way to come down for sure. And Yeah, I tell you, that was a good recovery. Came out a little bit quickly on the hold, but again, they were able to kind of make up for it. It was a decent landing, not anything egregious or anything like that. So, but we'll see what the judges say here.
Yeah, as I think they're probably going to reward that pretty well. Obviously, didn't hold it for the full 3 seconds, but otherwise, not too bad. We're going to see what they say about the movement of of the bases. Are they going to ding them for the movement of the bases? Obviously, just up and down, so it's not out of the line at all. But never really sure. And with 5 judges, there's a lot of eyeballs watching a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
As UMHB going to come out and UMHB with 3 10.0 pyramids, I kind of said it is, they've improved in their pyramids this year. They've improved in their tosses. A couple of places they've been trying to improve for a while and have done that. So UMHB, as they're going to come out in the pyramid, Jenna Hall is going to be your top with Kylie Jones as your middle base. Maddie Malesic, Emily Kidhill, Natalie Podsednik, and Savannah Hall also on. I believe this is going to be a back bend bridge on the base, and so it'll be Malesic at the bottom, Jones in the middle, and Hall at the top on the inversion. So but we're going to take a look, because I could be horribly wrong.
Well, you've been – I think you're shooting about 50% here, and I think you're right on this. It's going to be –
It'll actually be – so it'll be Savannah Hall as your middle base, and then Jenna Hall as your top.
And so, again, with the inverted base –
so Malesic on the bottom is really pushing through her hands, moving as much as her weight into her hips and especially her knees as possible because her weight's wanting to collapse back. So going vertical with Hall, a nice hold.
Good hold.
And a good job as Kidhill has to move her head back a little bit.
Yeah, good hold from Hall as the middle base. And the crew with the terrific response there. Yeah. Always nervous. I don't know, at least for me, I'm always a little bit extra cautious when I see an inverted base at the bottom there.
Yep.
Putting all your weight on your like you said, you got to shift it to your hips to keep yourself from collapsing because that's what naturally your body wants to do, but that's a lot of weight.
It is a lot of weight. I mean, you've got 2 bodies on top of you, and you start to look at that as but you also look at how strong some of these athletes are. Obviously, I know these ladies, and so, I know they call her Eminem, Maddie Malesic. I know Maddie Malesic well, an incredibly strong athlete. Yeah. Came in as a tumbler and actually wound up getting hurt. Was going to be tumbling a little bit this year, but just wasn't quite healthy and ready yet. But it's so strong, and so that'll be another one. Maybe next year you get a chance to take a look at a lady who's a bridge on a base and then going out and doing tumbling a little bit later. We talk about versatility.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely takes a lot for sure, showing the strength and the agility all in one go. But next up is going to be Buffalo's response here. We'll see if they're going to be able to definitely respond here with heat number 2.
Yeah, as we've got the synchronized pyramid now, and again another 9.5. Outside of Trine and UMHB, I don't think that we've seen anybody that has had 3 scores this high. And so for Buffalo State, really trying to make an impact here in their pyramids. And so they're going to be set up at a diagonal. 2 thigh stand pyramids. Your middle base, I believe one of those is number 19, Brianna Rohrer, as is number 25, Mariah Allen. Allen, just a freshman.
Good mount. A little bit of a lean on the right side.
Yeah. And really nice as those legs come through. They're going to go with a 360 descent. That's really good. And it's a difficult positioning, too. One of the things to really make note of, we've talked about it, that when you have a middle base, they're trying to get those hands kind of at the inside of their shoulders over their head to lock in those lats. When you come through with that pike and you've got those feet coming forward, your hands have to stay wide to allow those feet to come through. It's a whole nother aspect that you add on that really raises that level of difficulty because it's not hard to go from straight over your shoulder to 1 inch outside. And we had a conversation earlier about when you start getting outside of that frame of your body with weight on top of you, it gets exponentially heavier and more difficult to stay in line.
Yeah.
So a great job from the Bengals. I've been very impressed with them to this point.
Yeah, they look very, very solid here. And again, They're the 5th seed going up against the number 1 seed UMHB, and so far they've looked very, very good for sure in keeping pace with the UMHB squad, who is again known for their acrobatics and tumbling, and they've really emerged over the years as a staple. That's one of their primary sports.
Yeah, as you know, I mean, they're going for their 4th national championship this year, three-time defending national champion, and so coming in as the heavy favorite, obviously, but boy, Buffalo giving them everything that they've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the synchro pyramids, Emily Kidhill's your base on the left, Maddie Malesic your base on the right, Claire Willis, the freshman, is going to be your middle base on the left, Kylie Jones, your middle base on the right. As we're going to get a couple of straddle pyramids, and you get a really good look at the positioning of these bases. You see how hard they're trying to push into the knees and push away from their head. And a really good look is Battistella and Hall going to come down. And they're going to come down at the same time, which, I mean, let's face it, Battistella's 5'9", Hall's 5'2". Coming down at the same time is impressive in and of itself.
It's very impressive in and of itself.
But I thought it really good. I mean, you know, not a lot of movement from the bases, which is difficult when you're the only base that you've got. So not a lot of movement from the bases. Those middle bases held really steady.
Yeah, definitely did a fantastic job of holding for sure. And, again, like you said, with the size differential between a 5'9" athlete and a 5'2" athlete, I mean, that adds to the level of difficulty. But then just showing you the talent from this UMHB squad. And, again, I mean, they're national champs for a reason.
Yeah. As, you know, the Heat 3 pyramid for the Bengals. So it's the open pyramids. This is where you usually see teams throwing out their absolute best. And so with the ladies on the floor, Jacqueline Hardin, Julia Purpura, Mariah Allen, Kersey Salmon. I was looking at that earlier. I was, in my head, I was transposing the L and the A. And so when you said salmon, I was like, no, that's not right. And then I looked, I was like, oh, no, it is right.
It is.
That's
I was going to say.
That's what I get for doubting you.
So it took me a little bit. It took me a second or two to say salmon when we're talking about someone's name, not salmon the fish. So, hey, I mean, I don't blame you at all there, but
as Carla St. Hilliand and Guinevere Brickman also on the floor. So the open pyramid, and it looks like we're going to have several spotters here. So they're actually going to switch around to the other side.
This looks like a round of Ring Around the Rosie a little bit.
That's right. So 2 thigh stand pyramids. And look at how low they're getting. Boy, they're really down there, and they're giving her a very flat base. They're going to go up into a straddle.
Looks really good.
Yeah, really nice.
Good landing.
So they're going to come down and maybe come down a little bit to the left, but that's why you put it in that position. It makes it hard to see if they're coming down to the left or right. And a good job. I think one of the things that I was really impressed with, how low those bases got. You know, there's an element where the lower you get, yes, the feet get flat, but it also makes it more difficult on the bases to really be resilient and not drop down or move up too much. That angle that you see bases at with that maybe a little bit less than a 45 degree is usually a very strong position for the bases, and then they're holding on to the feet to prevent their feet from sliding. There, they just go straight flat, and that's a strong position for that middle base especially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and give a lot of credit to the middle bases. I mean, there's been a lot of really solid athletes at that middle base position for all the teams that have competed here today. And so that it's been fun to watch. And it's been fun to see how versatile those athletes are as well. So, I mean, that's been something that I personally have been kind of keeping my eye on.
Yeah, the middle bases have been very impressive today, and because we've seen them do a little bit of everything. We've seen the middle bases, which I think is kind of the way the sport is designed. Your middle bases are very strong, but they're also very agile. And so you have ladies, for example, you know, you've got, I just watched Claire Willis, who is one of the middle bases for UMHB, was going through her tumbling pass because she's going to be tumbling in a little bit. We saw that for a couple of other teams as well, with the middle bases being some of the main tumblers. And it really adds an excitement to the sport that you see ladies being able to really show in several areas.
Yeah, absolutely. As UMHB takes to the mat once again, we'll see how they can respond here as their bases, we've talked about it, much of the night have been very, very solid.
And they've got some of their strongest on the floor. They actually have almost all of their strongest bases on the floor, even some of them as the spotters, because Jenna Hall, when she comes down, is going to come down from a very great height in just a moment. So 2 thigh stands, and then the push press from the middle base, and then the long, slow 180.
Wow. That was a fantastic landing.
As really quality, and one of the highest scoring events for the UMHB all season long. Again, that's another one they've got a perfect 10 in. And so I think they executed that exactly the way that they wanted to, and a really nice event to head into halftime with.
Yeah, a lot of momentum heading into halftime, and that's going to bring us into halftime as well. We will be right back here on the ETV Plus Network for the toss, tumbling, and team event. So
hey, as we are back from halftime, we got the scores from the pyramid event in the inverted. Buffalo State at 8.525, UMHB at 9.45, synchronized 8.775 for Buffalo, 9.5 for UMHB, 8.75 in the open for Buffalo, 9.875 for UMHB. I'll give you those totals here momentarily, but we definitely want to take a look at the toss from Buffalo State, as in the Salto 450, got to have 450 degrees of rotation. So we're going to have a back tug. So a nice job from the Buffalo State Bengals. Going to be a little bit discounted, not 450 degrees, had the 360 on the back tuck. But a nice job as up and down, not a lot of side-to-side movement that you saw, and a good catch with a good positioning as UMHB going to head out next. Hey, here's your total from the pyramid event, 26.05 for Buffalo, 28.825 for UMHB. That means your meet right now, UMHB has the lead, 92.525 to 78.15. So UMHB in control and trying to stretch that here into the second half. Buffalo State with a starting toss of 8.80. UMHB is going to answer with a starting toss of 9.90. As the first toss on the floor for Crusaders is going to be Kylie Jones, Natalie Podsednik, Claire Couples, Jenna Crafts, and Jenna Hall. On the floor for the Bengals on that last toss was Lucy Ingro, Brianna Rohrer, Julia Purpura, November. Here we go. I've got the Maziers. There we go, Maziers. I want to make sure that I get everybody's name right. It's November Maziers and Lucy Uhrig. So a nice job from the Bengals as the Crusaders just waiting the thumbs up from the judges, which I think we've got now as we do. And we head into a 9.9 Salto 360, or should be a Salto 450 toss. Jenna Hall is going to be your top with Natalie Podsednik, Claire Couples.
all right, partner, I'm back. What did I miss here?
The Crafts and Kylie Jones. Hey, we are here in the Salto 450 toss as Hall going to have a rotation as well as the back layout. Hall up and through, a really nice 360 rotation with the back layout as the Crusaders with a 10.0 toss. So here's what you missed. UMHB extends their lead a little bit with the pyramid elements, though really good showing from Buffalo State. Everything was 8.5 to 8.7. So a good job from the Bengals. UMHB topped out with a 9.875 in that open pyramid.
Yeah. When we talked about that their bases were really strong, that they did an excellent job on execution. So I'm not surprised they got a 9.875. I mean, that's
giant.
That's very close to a 10.
Yes,
That'll make the difference. But it shows you the margin of error in today's competition between these teams. I mean, if UMHB doesn't hit those, those nines or so, I mean, you could be looking at a relatively close game.
You really could. Really could, as Buffalo State getting ready for their synchro toss. In the synchro toss, Lucy Ingro is going to be one of your tops. Brianna Rohrer, Julia Purpura. I keep wanting to call her Juliana Purpura. Julia Purpura. November Maziers and Lucy Uhrig. And the other group is going to be Jacqueline Hayden, Mariah Allen, Guinevere Brickman, Adrian Gardner, and Carla St. Hillian.
And so here we go as they take to the mat here.
And
getting a formation.
Start value of 8.80.
8.0 start value here for Buffalo State.
Ingro and Hayden are your two tops. And they're going to do the back tuck once again. So the same thing we saw a moment ago. They double it up, and they do a good job with doubling it up.
Not bad.
That's right. If
not
one is
bad.
good, two must be better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can't hurt your chances, right?
But I think they did a really good job. You know, and I think we've talked about this a couple of times throughout the day, but it is important to say, you have one group who is practicing that and doing that. You have a second group that is not doing that quite as often, and yet they come out and they're in perfect sync. Really good job from the Bengals.
Yeah, great job for sure. Way to put the pressure on UMHB. But again, I mean, if UMHB keeps getting, 9s and 9.875s, we could be in for, a long night for the Bengals. But, still in there, definitely competing for sure here. So the crew is getting set to go here for their sink toss, and we'll see how they are able to respond here.
Yes, they're going to go in with a 9.40, and Jenna Hall and Casey Hedrick are going to be your tops. So we'll get an opportunity to see these two ladies and we're going to get both the back layout as well as the 360 twist. So UMHB going to continue to build on what it is that they do well, and again, a lot of strong bases on the UMHB team, and as probably should be, especially if you look at the UMHB coaching staff. Rafaela Escado was a 3-time national champion for Baylor. She was a base, and boy, there are some great pictures of her in a back bend at the bottom of a pyramid, holding up some other incredibly strong ladies up above her. As Caitlin Kolajizik is a 2-time defending Division III Athlete of the Year and was one of those bases that did everything. She tumbled, she based. I don't think she did too much being on top, as they usually let her do the throwing and the holding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're that kind of a versatile athlete with that kind of strength, I mean, why would you want her anywhere else? As they're getting set for the mount here.
This is a good setup. Got that hollow position from each of these ladies. The toss, a 360 rotation with that back layout. And they each, I always enjoy it. It's a nice aesthetic because they rotate different directions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the spin going the outside direction is always kind of nice to watch. But a good job. I mean, again, up and down really look like those bases stayed within their tube. So straight down, straight up on the throw. If a base starts getting a little bit outside of their body and starts throwing sideways, it's going to throw everybody off. And so here at the end of the year, these two teams, especially right now, with some really good tosses, and I think the Crusaders do a good job answering a really good toss from the Bengals.
Absolutely. Hall and Hedrick, that was on as the Flyers there. Good work again by the bases of UMHB, and again, the ball will roll over to the Bengals corner here and see if they can take to the mat and set the tone in Heat 3.
Yeah, let me say this, too. I mean, I know we're talking about the UMHB bases, and part of that is because I know UMHB, and so it gets a little bit easier. Can we talk for a minute, though? I've been so impressed with the strength of the bases of Buffalo State.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, boy, they have been very, very good, and they're really strong as well. Every time aside from maybe just a few small things, boy, the bases have been so solid in their catches. They've been so solid in their holds for the pyramids, for the acros. I've been really impressed.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Like I said, the base work from several teams today have been very impressive, just showcasing how strong these athletes really are. And for Buffalo State, particularly. I was watching. We kind of mentioned her name a little bit earlier. Adrian Gardner has been very, very solid here today. As a good land on the back tuck.
Yeah, so the back layout, and that was their highest level of difficulty. So a start value of 9.0, and really hit it well. Good height on the back tuck, not the back layout. When you have the layout, you've got to have enough height because it takes a long time for those feet to come around. And a really good job, and so they do, man. They put some great bases on the floor. They go straight up and straight down. You didn't have a lot of side-to-side movement, and a solid catch.
Solid catch for sure, as the crew waiting in the wings here to enter the mat. But, yeah, like you said, the bases of the Bengals have also been very solid here today. Once again, they are, listed as the 5th seed, but they are definitely a solid unit coming in here today and have put forth a pretty good showing so far. I mean, still a long way to go. We still got the tumbling aspect and the team event as well. So, it's still going to be, a lot of opportunities to make up some points here. But, of course, the crew's job is to keep them playing catch-up.
Absolutely. And, it'd be interesting to see, after the compulsory tumbling, look like maybe the area that they're going to struggle the most in is the tumbling. And between the tumbling and the team event, that's so many points. I mean, 100 and I know most of these teams are not going to roll out 110s on the team event, but 105, 195 points plus the 60 in the tumbling. It can build on you very quickly with how far you may fall behind if you're not proficient in your tumbling.
Absolutely, and so again, and at this level, I mean we've said it before, but the margin of error is so slim. Everything has got to be pretty pristine.
Absolutely. As a 9.5 here for Hedrick and the Crusaders. With the split layout.
Yeah.
So one of the few teams that actually does this in the nation, as I'm trying to remember who they said figured it out as well. I can't remember, but a little interesting because they don't do the kick as she's coming into the layout. They actually do the kick as she's finishing the layout. Really impressive and a difficult skill because anytime you start separating those feet on purpose, it's going to slow down your rotation.
Absolutely.
And so the 360 rotation along with the back layout, along with the split, I got to tell you, a really nice job from the crew. They're actually laughing at me right now because Coach Scotto was looking in the booth as I was trying to explain the split. So,
hey, I think you did a pretty good job if that counts for anything. As we've established, we're all still kind of learning the terminology, learning the sport as we go here. But we're going to take a quick step aside. Next, the we'll have scores all laid up back here on the U.S. Network.
Event is tumbling event. This event has 6 heats. The first tier synchronized group tumbling passes, a duo, trio, and quad tumbling pass. The last 3 are individual tumbling passes. The start value of each heat are determined by the difficulty and combination of skills in each heat. Officials will be looking for body position, continuity of skills, and technique in each skill.
We are back here on the ETBU Plus Network, and so the toss scores are in. The Bengals with an 8.15 on the Salto, 450 Salto, and the UMHB crew with a start value of 9.9 got a 9.5, 7.85 on the synchronized toss from the Bengals. The crew with an 8.95, 8.4 in the open for the Bengals, 9.14 for the 9.175 rather for UMHB, for a total of 24.4 for the Bengals, 27.625 for UMHB, and the crew's really pulling away here. 120.15 total points, 102.55 for the Bengals. So again, we talked about it. We were asking ourselves, trying to figure out, how is this a fifth seed? Well, they finished 2-6 overall on the season. They were 2-2 at home. And as we look at the opening here,
with a nice round off into a full for Adrian Gardner. Again, we've talked about her as a base. Now she's out here tumbling.
Right.
And Lucy Ingro as, and we saw them coming from the diagonal. They're going to come from the diagonal. UMHB is going to come from the diagonal. I've never seen it in all my years of watching acro and tumbling, and now we've seen it 3 times in one meet. I'm going to have to ask the coaches afterwards. There's got to be a reasoning for why they're doing this. I'm wondering if it's maybe a difference in the change in the mats. I noticed yesterday, watching practice, some of the athletes were having a little bit of trouble transitioning from the practice mat onto the competition mat. So I'm wondering if maybe it has something to do with just the movement onto the mat.
Yeah, it may be for sure. Again, another one of those things that you kind of have to really pay attention to and be aware of as you are, the more you're watching this sport. I mean, a lot of little intricacies for sure, but talking about Buffalo State College here, as I said, 2-6 was their finish. And a lot of these teams that they're facing here today are teams that they've seen a lot of in their conference, with Trine matching up with them, Stevenson. So they're very familiar with these teams coming in. So this makes for a pretty interesting tournament here for each of these teams here.
As UMHB going to start off with a start value in the duo of 9.55, as you're going to have Jenna Hall as well as Madison Lewis, more affectionately known as Lou. So this is the first time we're going to see Lou. We've seen Hall already several times.
So let's see how they finish here.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So this is another new pass for the Crusaders. They go into the round-off back handspring, 1.5 right in the middle of the event. And here's the deal. The 1.5 in the middle of the pass is so tough because it's a blind landing and it sucks all your speed. Anything that you miss there it's going to ruin the rest of it. They come out of it. They have a step out to get a little bit more momentum. Back handspring, and then a full. Great job from the Crusaders.
I was going to say a lot of momentum on that for sure, enough to have your head spinning, but a great execution on that. And I thought they were going to run out of real estate for a second there on the mat.
It certainly looked like
it. The end of it, but a fantastic finish for sure.
As I'm actually trying to pull up the stream so I can go back and have myself a little bit of a replay.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it was an impressive pass and a little bit out of sync, but a really nice job kind of honing that in, because that's, and again, you'll forgive me, I didn't get a chance to catch the UMHB versus ETBU meet a couple of weeks ago. That's the first time I've seen that competed. And having that 1.5 right in the middle, Madison Lewis has been one of those that has had that 1.5 this year. UMHB lost 2 athletes that have the ability for the 1.5, which is the highest scoring tumbling pass you can get. And so for her to come up so big and start to perform this way is really good for the crew, not just this weekend, but in the future as well.
Absolutely. And so we'll see here as the tumbling trio now will take to the mat for the Bengals.
There's a round-off back handspring and back layout. A little bit of a step, but a good job from the Bengals, as that was going to be Kara Moran, Jacqueline Hardin and Emma Ball. That tumbling pass was a start value of 7.25. And hit pretty well, I think. Synchronization just a little bit off with a couple of steps, but boy, just going to have to see how the judges kind of judge some of those technical issues and whether or not that's going to be.
That's something to me that's always going to be the toughest. Is how much do you mark off for a slight wobble here, a little bit of unstable finish there. So it can be very difficult. Again, we've got the easy job. We can just talk about it.
That's right, absolutely.
and speculate, but they're the ones down there at the scorers table that have to actually do the job. So
absolutely,
it's tough. I like being up here, personally speaking.
UMHB in their trio is going to come out with an 8.35. And so, again, they're trying to bolster their start values here in the tumbling as the season has gone on. And with the trio coming out is going to be Jenna Crafts, Alexis Kokel, and Shani Hinkle, a junior, a senior, and a junior. As Shani Hinkle actually stepping into the trio pass for the first time this season. So UMHB, again, and it's going to be interesting to see what pass they do here. Obviously they've stepped away from kind of what I saw most of the season as they're really trying to push the numbers.
Yeah, we'll definitely see for sure. And it's always very interesting when you've got somebody new in the mix, as Trine was all too familiar with, speaking with their coach after the game. But she just kind of talked about how that's something that they've been kind of dealing with all year. So they were used to having to adjust to injuries and things of that nature. But like you said, a new athlete in the mix here for the trio, the tumbling trio. And we will see how everything kind of transpires here and how this plays into the point totals when things are all said and done.
And a little interesting, as a little bit longer delay on the judging than I thought there would be. I'm wondering if maybe there was a deviation from what was planned. We don't have the actual sheet that lets us know what it is that was written down to be done. Typically, when you see a little bit longer delay from the judges, it's because they're having to make some adjustments.
Yeah,
it's been moving. I guess knock on wood is the judging's been moving fairly quick this round. As there's the thumbs up to say go ahead. So
that's
I guess
all right. I knocked on wood for you.
You did.
Those are cursed words to say in a broadcast. Learned that the hard way.
That's right. You say that in the dugout during a baseball game, and you're guaranteed to go to the 16th inning.
Yeah, guaranteed. Just about.
So a run, and you see three different starting spots for the Crusaders. One athlete's all the way out the hall, and Jenna Crafts. They're going to go with the whip, 3 back handsprings, and a full.
What a clean
and great
finish.
Synchronization.
Wow. Incredible synchronization for sure.
That was a really good pass for the Crusaders. And maybe my favorite part was Jenna Hall started outside of the gymnasium.
Yeah,
or Jenna Crafts. Jenna Crafts started outside the gymnasium.
That was my favorite part as well. I mean, I didn't even realize how far out she had gone. We could have asked her to kind of bring us back some pretzels or something while we're up here for sure to munch on. But wow, that was incredible.
It was incredible, and again, a lot of speed. I think that the speed is going to help them because then they can use the momentum of the speed to just move into the body position without having to create speed from the movements themselves. Really a nice job from the Crusaders on the trio pass. And so we're going to move into the quad passes. The quad pass for Buffalo State right now is, well, I've got all my papers backwards. Quad pass is going to be listed as 6.75.
Okay.
They are going to have one duplicate athlete. Again, is in these team elements with tumbling, you cannot duplicate within the 3 team passes. So the duo, trio, and quad, you're not allowed to have duplicate athletes. If you do, it's going to be a major discount to your score. Then those athletes can come back for your individual tumbling passes, which you'll see all of these ladies come back for. But the duplicate is going to be Kara Moran. Other than that, in Brianna Rohr, Juju Santiago, and November, I got to look back at my pronunciation sheet. November Marziers I'm sorry, I keep having to go to that, but I want to make sure I say your name right.
You want to make sure it's.
So they're going to start off in a 6.75 as they're all going to start off at the same place as one athlete just a little bit further in front, actually. So round off, back handspring, and back tuck.
Yeah, a good finish there. Little bit off on the synchronization on the far left side, our left from the booth here. But overall, though, I mean, not a bad routine there. Not a bad go at it for sure. But I think that UMHB has put forth some pretty dynamic passes here today.
Yeah, I think that one, I think as you start to see the quad is where you really see the depth of teams. And you start to see with the quads maybe some of the tumblers are not as advanced in tumbling, so they can complete the elements. They're not going to have the technical efficiency. There are a few technical things there that we know the judges will take care of, and there's no need for me to sit here and say them, but the still a quality pass to be able to put 3 new ladies on the floor, because every time you put a new lady on the floor, it's going to be more points.
Yeah.
And I think just as rosters continue to expand, it's one of those that if you can get a full contingent, which UMHB is going to have, they're going to have 4 brand new ladies on the floor. It just helps to add points, because even though this is going to be an 8.0 start value, they have the ability to get a full 8 points, whereas the Bengals do not, because they had to have a duplicate.
Absolutely. So
the Crusaders with this going to have a few ladies from some different classes going to be on the floor, as Annika Surgis, a freshman, Claire Willis, a freshman, Casey Hedrick, a junior, and Savannah Hall, a sophomore, come in for the quad pass and the 8.0 start value.
And just as a little side note, I was actually wondering how you pronounce Anna. I was going to say Anna Kassergeis.
Hey, it's not a bad start to it with Kassergeis. But
I know words sometimes.
Round off, back handspring, back layout, and a good job from the Crusaders.
Not a bad finish for sure.
As all 4 ladies, good job. They're having a laugh as they're heading back. Who knows what on earth it is that has got them so tickled, but they are all cracking up, as well as the coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, once again, it's the lighthearted nature of competition here, acrobatics and tumbling, and so far, though, it's been a very fun day. Long day, but a very, very fun day for sure. Lots of great competition.
As we're about to get into the individual passes in Buffalo State, again, so we're going to see some of the ladies come up that are now able to come back out as a duplicate. Jacqueline Hayden, a senior, is going to start out for the aerial pass. And so Hayden in the aerial pass with a 7.75 start value. With the aerial means that you have to have one element that you don't use your hands. It could be a whip, which is a back handspring without your hands. It could be a front punch. It could be a full and a half. It could be whatever it may be, but can't use your hands. As Hayden's going to get started from the corner. And we're going to see.
So let's see if Hayden can get us going.
As the run in from the corner. Boy, front handspring with the front tuck and round off back layout. Nice job from Hayden.
She almost used the entire mat for that one, but a great finish nonetheless. Good routine, great pass. And so that is going to be something that, again, that could give them a little bit of a boost here as we come to the kind of the tail end of the tumbling event. Next is going to be the open tumble, but UMHB will have to have a response here, and I have no doubt that it's going to be something.
As taking a look back, as I feel like I missed one element of this is the aerial, and I feel like I missed one element kind of watching back on the replay. The front handspring into the front punch, round off back handspring, back full. Yeah, so a really great job from Hayden, as Jenna Crafts of the crew is going to try to answer. Crafts, a junior this season, has been in this position pretty much the entire season where she's been running the aerial. She's going to throw 3 whips into the into the mixer here. And for anyone, I say for anyone, this is really for one person, is when I got started in broadcasting acro and tumbling, the queen of Division III acro and tumbling is what I call her, Kinsley Walters. Kinsley had so many whips in her performances. She had 3. She actually worked on a pass that had 4 whips at one point, but it really wasn't worth it based on the start values. But Kinsley Walters, one of the few Division III athletes that I've seen that consistently came out with 10.0 start values on tumbling passes. Wow. And really was incredible as a Division III tumbler. So, Kinsley, if you're watching, hey, we're still thinking about you, talking about you at the national championships. As Jenna Crafts is going to get started from literally against the back wall. 1, 2, and 3 whips.
Wow.
2
Beautiful.
back handsprings and a full.
Wow.
And a really good job. And one of the things to notice that you might have noticed, because we've been talking about speed all day, you saw how that last whip basically happened in place. Wasn't really gaining ground. And then those back handsprings, she had to start generating power. And a really good job. Use those legs of hers to explode off, because knowing that you've got to finish off with that back layout full, you still got to get some momentum going back. A good job from Jenna Crafts.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, I mean, a lot of casual fans, who are just getting into the sport don't really realize how tough that is to come to a dead stop. You've propelled onto the mat, started with momentum, have to come to a dead stop for not 1 but 2 whips, and then go back into your routine and then finish things off. That's tough to do. I mean, just thinking about it is giving me a headache.
Oh, yeah. And not 1, not 2, but 3 whips.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was a little bit worried, too, because Jenna is the one that started outside the gym in the trio pass.
Yeah,
and so she had her
was.
back to the wall over there. I was like, well, I was hoping she wasn't going to run out of space.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody that needs the entire hallway as a runway is about to take off at that point. But definitely a great showing there by Kraft, and we'll see the open here as I believe this is going to be number 18 for Buffalo State College, that being Emma Ball in the 6th element, not the open.
As
I keep jumping the gun there on that
Ball,
one.
Ball getting ready. You watch these tumblers, and one of the interesting parts is you're watching the tumblers. You can see them practicing the movements as they're waiting. Right now, Jenna Hall is one of those on the other side of the floor that does it as much as anybody. But I was watching Ball. Ball was doing the same thing, practicing the movements that she's going to be doing in the air, because when you're going through this pass, you don't have time to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Ball's going to get started from the corner. Short run in for Ball. Little hop in, and then a round off. Back handspring into a whip. Couple of back handsprings and a back tuck. Wow. So the round off, 2 back handsprings, and then the whip really threw me off. I didn't know that was going to come.
I didn't know that was coming either, but I liked the little hop at the beginning. I thought Easter was last weekend. But she gets the little Easter bunny hop into her pass routine. But great finish right there. That was pretty very, very solid for sure.
Yeah, it was solid. Losing a little bit of steam there at the end, and she did a good job because she had to have a pause there. Coming out of that whip, she was a little bit far forward, had to get that weight back onto those heels. But once she got back onto those heels, she was able to get back into her back handsprings, and a nice adjustment throughout the middle of that pass is, she was able to complete it. Because if she doesn't, she just stops right there. I mean, it's a 6 element. She's done 4 elements at that point. It's like, okay, you're going to get major counted off. A good job recovering out of that. Yeah,
good recovery for sure. And so far here, this has been exciting. Again, this is one of the reasons why this is, personally for me, my favorite part of the competition, seeing the athleticism and the high-flying acts of these athletes here out on the mat.
Well, and so you're
doing things I wish I could do.
That's right. So Jenna Hall, you're going to see Jenna Hall do the same pass that she did as a duo, so that they come in with the round off back handspring and then the full and a half, as Hall's getting ready with those movements. And so it is quite the chaotic pass for those of us that are watching. It's calm and peaceful for Jenna Hall, who is calm, cool, and collected here in her senior year, as Hall is wrapping up a really a high-quality career for UMHB. One of those that when she's gone, as we have with all sports, I'm sure you've done it here at ETBU, you get those people that you call baseball, softball, basketball, and you're just used to calling their name, and when you don't call their name, it feels really weird.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've gone through that several times for sure, and I know exactly what that feels like. I mean, you get these athletes who have really helped to establish your programs, and it's going to be hard to see them go.
And a great run from Jenna Hall, as Hall with that 4.5 in the middle. And I've got a little bit of a question, actually. Was that a 4.5 at the end as well?
Little bit of a crowd surf
as Coach
there.
Scotto with the crowd
With
surf.
the crowd
my
surf.
goodness.
That's hilarious. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I haven't either. I've been calling that for 3 years. Oh, my goodness.
Wow, absolutely. That's pretty funny.
So a really good pass from Hall, as Hall with the round off into the 4.5, and then finishes with a 2 4.5s in the pass, and that's incredible. And you see how good Jenna Hall is at tumbling with 2 4.5s in one pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm still taken aback by the crowd surfing from UMHB here, as we have Adrian Gardner here, a junior, usually working the base. Now she's going to be doing the open tumble here. So we'll see how she fares as she steps onto the mat to start things off.
Long run in for Gardner. And a round off into a full. So a nice job from Gardner. An 8.0. And, boy, really impressive. She's a strong athlete. Had a long run in. It's so long, I was starting to get a little bit nervous, I'll be honest with you.
I was going to say, yeah, she stepped onto the mat and didn't really start until she had already used more than half the mat at that point. So I was getting ready to say, can't be a really long
And again, with these Division III teams, the Division I teams, you will tend to see more elements. They'll stack a bunch of elements to get that 10.0. With the Division III teams, they're taking some of these athletes that are really powerful athletes, and they're actually creating short passes for them. You're going to see the same thing from Madison Lewis. Madison Lewis is going to go a round off into a 4.5, and it's going to be done. Lewis is the athlete that I was talking to you earlier. She's got really long strides. She has a runner's stride coming onto the mat, so she's going to get as much room as she can, and she's going to get a lot of speed very quickly, and about halfway through the mat, she's going to go flying.
Yeah, let's see how Lewis fares here. She gets set to go. Maybe all her teammates are surrounding her for, I don't know, a quick last-minute you-can-do-it session, I guess. I don't know. There's been a couple things I haven't seen before here, so, I mean, hey, why stop now, I guess. So here's Lewis now.
So 9.55 on the start value. Lewis going to get a lot of speed in before she starts into her pass.
Good finish.
Holy moly, as Madison Lewis pulls a fast one on me. She goes into the 4.5, couple of back handsprings into the full. A great job from Madison Lewis.
Great job for sure. And again, just showing the athleticism, the versatility. That was a fantastic finish.
As you know, and so Lou that was the same pass that she did for the duo pass with Jenna Hall. Lou trying to take the crown and take the torch from Jenna Hall about who's going to carry these 4.5 passes next season. I think Madison Lewis is answering that question.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fantastic pass routine, and we look to see a lot more, but it's going to be the team event that's coming up here to culminate things here tonight, and we'll step aside, and in the meantime, check out a quick little preview for those of you just joining us to see what exactly